Hello, I'm Soumya. For the passage? And now the question. What does the author intend to communicate through the last statement of the passage? Now for the solution, let us first check out what the statement is. India is what you make of it and what you want it to be. Now for the referencing, let us first check out the previous sentences which are supporting this particular sentence. Here, if you want to see a temple, there are temples in profusion. If you want to look at history, it has plenty of forts, abandoned cities, ruins, monuments. If you want to lie on beach, there is enough to satisfy the most avid sun worshippers. And if you like walking and hiking, there are trekking routes in Himalayas. That means, if a person has a certain choice, there is an unlimited choice for him available in India. There is something to offer to every person. Let us check out the options and see which among these fits exactly. Option number 1 is, India is a very flexible nation and Indians are subservient in mentality. Although the first part is absolutely true, India being a very flexible nation, but there has been no referencing done whatsoever to serve the basic factor, that is, the Indians are subservient in mentality. We cannot be very much sure that we want this particular sentence to be linked with this sentence, that is, India is what you make of it and what you want it to be. Option number 1 is not correct. Option number 2, India has something to offer to every whim and fancy of a person, which is absolutely correct. We had already seen in this particular passage. It is true. Let us check out the other options. Option number 3 is, India being a democratic institution, the onus of its taking a particular direction rests solely on the shoulders of it. Now here, the sentence does not make any referencing to the sentence which requires the explaining. India is what you make of it does not have to do anything with its people or it being a democratic institution. Option number 3 does not make any sense in this scenario. Option number 4, India is a great tourism destination. Now, if this was the whole theme of this particular passage, then one might have considered it. But option number 4 does not make any sense in this scenario and therefore it can be considered as irrelevant. Option number 2 is the only option which supports and gets fitted to this context and therefore the correct answer is option number 2. Thank you. करके दिखाएंगे. Hello, I'm Soumya. The passage is, and now the question. Which of the following is true about the present state of Indian economy? Now for the solution, let us first check out where in the passage the Indian economy has been referenced. It is in the second paragraph, last few lines. The economy was radically transformed. Liberalization and greater foreign participation was ushered in. This has been a slow process, but it now appears to be irreversible and more economic reforms are gradually being introduced. Now going through this particular sentence, we can make sure that it is due to the liberalization, the Indian economy is rising. Now, let us check out the options and see which among this fits. Option number 1 is, Indian economy has liberalized rapidly and today India is a thoroughly global market. Option number 1 is absolutely incorrect, as here the liberalization has been taken as a rapid growth, which is absolutely incorrect. As we had already seen, the liberalization is a slow process and it is still in continuation and India is still not a global market. Option number 1 is therefore incorrect. Option number 2, Indian economy is liberalizing gradually, which is absolutely true as we had already seen the reference that was there in the second paragraph. Option number 3, public sector enterprises dominate the agricultural sector in the country, which is not the exact format for the Indian economy. It can be taken into consideration if there would have been any referencing done whatsoever, but it is not, and therefore option number 3 and similarly option number 4 can be cancelled out. The correct answer here is option number 2. Now we hope the solution is clear to you. Thank you. करके दिखाएंगे. Hello, I'm Soumya. For the passage, and now the question. Select an appropriate title for the passage. Now for the solution, let us check out what the options are. Option number 1 is The Great Indian Diaspora. Now the word diaspora in general term means scattering of the particular type of people. Now we cannot say that Indian diaspora can be taken into consideration as it does not reflect to the whole paragraph. Option number 1 cannot be the correct answer here. Option number 2 is India abroad. Now here in the passage the norms are only for the Indian economy and what India is all about. Here India or India from abroad is not being taken into consideration whatsoever. Option number 2 does not provide any such referencing and therefore it is incorrect. Option number 3 is experiencing India. Now if we go by the last line, India is what you make of it and what you want it to be. And throughout the passage it has been done. The experiences that the people share coming to India has been explained thoroughly by the author. Option number 3 reflects best to the passage and therefore it should be an appropriate title. But let us check out the other option. Option number 4 is the Indian pilgrimage. Now in the options, option number 4 is the only option which has not found any referencing whatsoever in the options or in the passage. Option number 4 does not make any sense in this context and therefore has to be cancelled out. It is option number 3 which best reflects to the passage and therefore we have to consider this as an apt answer. Now we hope the solution is clear to you. Thank you. करके दिखाएंगे. Hello, I'm Soumya. The passage is the question. Which of the following is false according to the passage? Now for the solution, let us first check out the referencing. Option number 1 says India has poor literacy rates. Now if we go by the reference, in the first few lines, despite poor literacy rates, which exactly shows that India is indeed having poor literacy rate. Option number 1 finds its way in the passage and therefore it is incorrect. Option number 2 is India is a federation. Now by the passage, here it has a strong federal government but a regional state also enjoy considerable power and regional parties are becoming increasingly popular. Now we had already seen that India indeed is a federation and therefore it is true according to the passage. Option number 3, the President is the head of the Indian states, which is absolutely true as here the referencing is provided. The President is the head of state and therefore we can say that option number 3 is also there. Option number 4 is the only option that fits it. The options that has been provided are true as per the passage is concerned and therefore the correct answer here is option number 4. Thank you. करके दिखाएंगे. Hello, I'm Soumya. Now the passage. And now the question. Which of the following is essentially responsible for safeguarding the democratic system in India? Now for the solution. Let us find out the referencing that has been done in the first paragraph. If we look closely, a high level of political awareness among its 1 billion people has ensured that democratic norms are, on the whole, firmly rooted in people's behavior and attitudes. Now let us check out the options. Option number 1 says high level of political awareness among the illiterate masses. Now we had already seen that India is having poor literacy rate. Still, they have high level of political awareness. Option number 1 fits exactly to this scenario. Option number 2, regionalism and regional party. Option number 3, the fourth estate of the nation. And option number 4, all of the above are not as close and therefore they have to be cancelled out. The correct answer for this particular question therefore is option number 1, as the direct referencing can be found in the first paragraph. Thank you. करके दिखाएंगे. Hello, I'm Soumya. The passage is. And now the question. Which of the following can be deduced from the passage? Now for the solution, let us check out the options. Option number 1 here is President of India does not require support from the majority of the national parliament. Now, although we can see that here the referencing is done for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is a head of government requiring the support of the majority of the national parliament. The President is the head of state. But nowhere in the passage we can make for certain that it is true that President does not require any sort of support from the majority of national parliament. Option number 1 cannot be deduced directly. Therefore, we cannot go directly with option number 1. Let us check out the other options. Option number 2 is Indian judiciary is independent from the other arms of the government. Now here, we can see that the judiciary is independent. Now here, the independence does relate to the other parts of the government, and therefore we can say that it is true indeed. Indian judiciary is independent from the other arms of the government. Option number 3 here is private sector in India has come into prominence since 1991. Now although the referencing is done until 1991, the Indian economy was characterized by Soviet style. Now here, the public sector was there, but we cannot say that it was indeed into the prominence. Option number 3 is indeed incorrect, as here, until 1991, there was no private sector at all. Option number 3 is incorrect. Option number 4, all of the above cannot be true, as we had already seen few of the options have been cancelled out, and therefore we can say that option number 4 is incorrect. Now let us come back to option number 1 and 2. As we can clearly see, here the referencing cannot be seen directly for the precedent, and Indian judiciary being independent is given as it is in the passage, and therefore in the limelight option number 2 seems more appropriate instead of option number 1, and therefore the correct answer here is option number 2. Thank you. करके दिखाएंगे.